So, Bill, what's one of the graces of marriage?
The love between the two couples.
Love between the two couples, right? That it brings two people together. What did Adam and Eve say at the story of creation? It's not good for the man to be alone, right? It's not good for the man to be alone. It's not good for the woman to be alone, right? So there's a grace that's given in the joy of being with one another. Are we right on that, George?
I'll go along with that.
Okay, very good. What would be another grace for marriage? Children, okay? That God has decided that this is the best way, not the only way, but the best way for children to come into the world. And even though Dan Quayle got in trouble with Murphy Brown years ago, right? I mean, psychologists will remind us that this is true, that this still remains the best place. What would be another grace of marriage? The union of the couple, the union of children. Anything else? What about God, through the sacrament, just giving the grace that a husband not kill his wife and a wife not kill her husband? I'm not trying to be funny here. It's tough to live with another person, is it not? Roy tells me all the time how tough it is. Come on, Pat, you know? It's tough. Why is divorce so high in our culture? Because it's tough. It's tough to love in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health. It's very difficult, right? It's a nice idea. It looks nice on the Valentine's card, and then you meet the person, right? You know, it can be a great challenge. And so God gives us the sacrament. God gives us the sacrament to infuse grace, His special help, His special love. And when I meet with couples who are experiencing difficulties, the first thing I say, are you calling on the grace of your sacrament? Are you calling on the grace of the sacrament? Because the world needs to see, this is the ultimate grace of the sacrament of marriage. And it's in the wedding ritual itself, where we say, in the love of a husband and a wife, we see the love of a God we cannot see. Married couples, your love for each other, love that is patient and kind and enduring, that helps us, but especially your children, know what the love of God looks like. Right? That's the grace of marriage, that you're mirroring the love of God. I know I'm grateful that I saw that in my mom and dad. Not always, but most times, you know? Right? And I saw the grace of persevering. Tron.
In my research for the commandments that I did, one of the things I came across when the church was talking about the couple staying together was that it does psychological harm to the children.
If they stay together.
No, if they divorce.
If they divorce, yeah.
It does
it can cause wounds, yeah. That becomes a difficult thing when couples are experiencing difficulties. Do we stay together for the sake of the kids? Do we separate because of the kids? And it can be a very difficult thing. So the other sacrament we want to talk about today with vocation is holy orders. All right? So, again, there's an outward sign. Bill, what was the outward sign of holy orders?
The ordination, the laying on of hands.
Laying on of hands, okay? Okay, Brian, come here for a second. Come out of your dehydration mode, okay? So one day, if the confluence of events happens, right? A male comes forward, all right, for ordination, and the bishop, okay? Wouldn't that be funny if I was a bishop and you were going to be ordained a priest? I'm not sure what would be more shocking. Okay? All right. So, this goes back to the Hebrew people, right? To the Jewish covenant, the laying on of hands. Right? This happens throughout the Old Testament, where the hands of the bishop is the one who celebrates the sacrament of holy orders, and he lays hands on the head of a man to be ordained. When else do we lay hands on people?
Confirmation.
Confirmation, all right? Because like baptism and confirmation, holy orders is what we call a character sacrament, all right? It leaves a mark on the soul of the person, all right? But the outward sign is a man, and in our Catholic tradition, we've got, because Christ only called men to holy orders, we continue to only call men to holy orders, all right? And so the man, the maleness, and then the laying on of hands, okay? Have a seat, Father Brian, all right? That's the core of the sacrament. Now, in each ordination ritual, there are different outward signs, because holy orders involves 3 different orders Bill, what is one of them?
Diaconate.
Diaconate. The second would be presbyterate or priesthood. What would the third one be? Bishop. Okay, we say it's the fullness of holy orders. It's not three different sacraments. It's kind of three stages within the one sacrament. Okay, so I was a deacon before I was a priest. All right, so I was a deacon for a year. What they call transitional deacon. Bill's preparing for what's called the permanent diaconate. It's the same diaconate, same ceremony. Sometimes happens together. But the other rituals for the diaconate ordination, the promise of obedience. Okay, there's a presentation of the book of the Gospels. At priesthood, the hands are consecrated with chrism. The bishop's ordained. They pour oil over his head. Okay, they give you symbols of your office, sign of peace for the deacon, the chalice for the priest, this crozier and staff for the bishop. All right, so they're the outward signs, the things you see. When was it instituted? When was Holy Orders instituted? The Last Supper. All right, the Last Supper, and then again, all right, explicitly at the Last Supper, but implicitly in the life of Jesus. And the diaconate really was begun later in the life of the church, right? When they realized that the widows were not being taken care of. The church needed to fix this problem, as they call 7 righteous men, all right, to this. And what is the grace of holy orders? What's a grace you receive through the ministry of a deacon, a priest, or a bishop? That's it. The Christ's ministry remains alive. That Christ is allowed to continue to minister to his people. Right? Now you'll notice that what is not listed here under the sacraments of vocation is religious life, which is not a sacrament. Okay? It's not a sacrament of religious consecration. So Sister Gail, when she made her vows, okay, actually did not receive a sacrament, but received a blessing from the church. So she and the other sisters were blessed and set aside. And each religious community has a unique grace that they build, that they bring to the church. So the Sisters of Mercy, to which Sister Gail belongs, to instruct the ignorant, to feed the hungry, to care for the sick, and
corporal and spiritual works of mercy.
Corporal and spiritual works of mercy, right? So that's the grace that they bring to the church. Others bring a grace of prayer. Others bring a grace of missionary spirit, whatever. So each religious community. And then there is really what we call the single vocation. All right? So again, it's not a sacrament, but those who remain single for a great variety of reasons, all right? But still God uses them in the life of the church, in the life of their family, for great things. Okay? So it's not because someone is single, oh, they just never found someone. All right? No, perhaps God hasn't asked them to remain single for some purpose that is beyond us. Okay? So we're going to take a few minutes. It's almost 1 o'clock. We'll take a few minutes. Questions that you have about marriage, things to share from your own living out of the sacrament of marriage, questions about priesthood or the diaconate or the episcopacy